Hello, Virgo. Welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. Oh, your reading, Virgo, is so good. It's so good. So, something to note. All the cards except for the advice that came out were oracle decks. Now, it's true that I don't really distinguish kind of in the way that I read, but they are different oracle cards. They don't adhere to a system the way tarot does. And I think that's important, right? They are wholly chosen by their creator. You can create an oracle deck that is not beholden to anything. They tend to have, either 36 or 44 or, cards, but, I've got one oracle deck that's got 83 and, oracle decks that have words and ones that don't. And so there's specificity, right? That Virgo choosing. And your card that wanted to come out, discernment. So Virgo, to be discerning, to being particular, specific. Now, the scene underlying, and that we all know we have, is uncertainty. But I happen to be, naturally, of course, yes, listening to a podcast thingy where the guest was Ian McGilchrist, who I often talk about. I think he's wonderful. And he spoke about uncertainty as kind of a really human gift. The fact that we can, in fact, live in uncertainty. Below that is the Keeper of Wonder. And then interestingly, I'm seeing now below that is Relief. And I think we're going to come to that. Now, the underside here is Prepare. Also very Virgo. Right? Squirrels are, I think, a sort of Virgo-ish animal. And I think that what wants to be said here is that you are prepared. This is not advice to prepare, but it is pointing out that your whole life has been, in part, preparation. We are at, I think, a point that's going to be spoken about in history classes in the future as a point of great transition in society. This uncertainty. And I think that all of us who are here now, who chose to show up and be alive at this point in time, are excited, are here to be part of this transition, this change. And that you have been preparing, Virgo. And the advice through the whole thing is to really be Virgo. We have meditation here. And this feels less like meditation and more like commitment or, discipline. which I think Virgo can embrace. I don't know that it's immediately a Virgo virtue, discipline, exactly. There's some nuance there, but that it is absolutely in your scope. And then the bottom is another very Virgo word, refinement. We also have illumination. We have this forest bathing, and that feels like the care of the body that Virgo tends to. The care of the physical self, the care of the physical earth. Then we have stardust, which I think is the care of the imagination. And I don't know if people would apply imagination to Virgo. I think each sign has its own kind of imagination. And here that it's, in conjunction with Pisces, that this connection, it's showing up here too with her standing in the water. That right now, especially as the North Node is moving through Pisces, that this connection, this reciprocity between the two shows up here as well. Right, nurture yourself, the watering, the infusion of Pisces into the earth of Virgo. As well as nurturing the body. And this is, being mindful of what your body comes into contact with and does. I would never say that any diet or regimen or anything has to be X, Y, or Z. This is the ability to pay attention and to discern what is nurturing to you and your physical form. You might also have a highly developed sense of what works for other people as well. And then we have wealth. Below that, desire. Oh, I'm going to go one more. Now that I've seen it. Passion. And then this card, which has been showing up, the unexpected. And then the bottom has purpose. So seeing your purpose clearly for yourself. And I don't, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I don't think that we have like a etched in stone kind of journey. That our souls arrive here with an idea of what they want, with a plan. And maybe there's a handful of individuals in every generation where the plan is really specific. People who end up in, like Queen Elizabeth, who was a Virgo. Right? That was probably a pretty specific plan that soul had. But that we do have a sense of purpose. A, of what we want to do, B, of our natural gifts and how we want to express them. And this Sekhmet card with protection is actually making me think of you. That you have been maybe in a very self-protective mode. Maybe you've been in warrior mode. And it's like you hear something. You hear a trumpet. You hear a signal. You know, maybe you've been engaging in some kind of battle somewhere. And you hear this call. And it leads you into this whole different landscape where you lose your armor, you lose your weapon, you lose, you know, kind of this outer fierceness that you've been walking around with. And no blame to you there. But it's like coming back into self. Right? It's this coming home energy that we've all been having. That maybe that is, you know, there's the hero's journey, right, that we see. And they come home. And but home is different. And you see the real beauties of home, right? The home of yourself, of who you are, of your nature. You know, and then we have action, but she's, right, and she's in this pretty, you know, ball gown outfit, taking action. This is not the action of battle or struggle. This is the action of dance. And then progression, running with abandon, with enthusiasm and verve, I want to say. And then we have the axe. Division and lessening. And this, I think, right, is this discernment. In part, right, that we're going to chop away that which doesn't fit. But also, interestingly, there's this Grove card with divinity and awe. And I was struck, of course, by this combination of the axe and the trees. And that this is another act of discernment. It makes me think of a story in Braiding Sweetgrass that Robin Wall Kimmerer tells about a group that use these particular kinds of trees and the bark from the trees to weave baskets. I think it's baskets. And they go into the forest and they ask the trees which one wants to be cut down. And at some point, I can't remember exactly how it happens, but a particular part of the forest is left without anybody doing this. And it actually suffers. It becomes overcrowded. The human element actually had a purpose in the space. So there's something about that. You know, it may be, since this is the divinity awe card, you know, maybe that you've been trying out different kinds of maybe spiritual practices, or maybe you've been, trying out different professions, or you've been undecided about things. Maybe there's a whole section of your life where you just haven't gone in there. You've left it alone, and now it's kind of overgrown. So there is something about going in and clearing up. Making definitive choices. And normally, I sort of think of Virgo as being really good at this, but it may be that the last few years and the extreme levels of uncertainty have left you, unable to know what to do. I need to keep this piece of string because I might need it 5 years from now. Right? I need to keep these contacts alive in case I need them. And that the time has come to let stuff go. Plan B and C and D. Below the axe we have, pick it up, the mojo bag. Getting your mojo back. And then actually below that is the abandoned plantation. And this, maybe this, right, is where stuff has overgrown that needs to be hacked away, right? There's something, I think there is something where you let it get overgrown and it needs to be cleared out. And it seems very much like it might be this kind of plan B thing, keeping clothes that you never wear just in case, or, even keeping something beyond the mending stage into where it's genuinely sort of falling apart because you're never going to find the perfect jeans ever again. Right? There's something that you've been holding on to just in case. Right? Or maybe you've been holding on to it like a talisman. And now it's time to let it go, to chop it down, to clear it out. Because then we have the Psalm book, which is rejoicing and faith. We also have blackberries with agency and independence. And the cowrie shells with passion, feminine power, and I would add prosperity. So if you've been holding on to something just in case, or because it might not come again, or because you don't know if you might need it, this, right? This idea of prepping. I had a relative who was raised during the Depression. She was also raised by a mother who was very, very frugal. She kept accounts down to the penny. And so this relative of mine, she was an aunt, she had a basement filled with canned goods. And she just couldn't throw them away, even though some of these canned goods were really old. Right? There was this, or she would leave stuff in the freezer for so long that it would, be entirely freezer burned and no longer edible. Because she couldn't let it go. There was this underlying habit. Well, there might not be enough tomorrow. I have to be prepared. I have to have all the water and all the power and all the food and, I have to have it for a year, or right, whatever the, I have to have enough money to survive till I'm 90. I have to, and I have to have it now. Or I have to make sure I stay in touch with all of these people. I might need one of these contacts. I must have a plan B. And you're being asked to relinquish that. To have faith that your path is clear and open. That the preparation is an internal one. All your skills, all your experience, your faith, your magic, all of that you have. This is the real prep. Not the outer things. So we have these archeo deck cards, and I'm actually going to read you the story from each one. They have a description in the book, but then there's also a little tale. And I'm going to read you all the tales, but I'll show you there's the metamorph. And right below that is the illuminator, right, the lighthouse. Whereas the underside is the survivor, right? This is this person. I'm not going to read you this story, because this is what we want to move away from. It got you this far. We're not criticizing the survivor at all. Brave, resilient, true. But we can release that now. Then we have the Mobius. The wolf. And the moon cat, who's come out several times recently. So the metamorph's tale. A child stands frozen, unable to step beyond its shadow, quaking on the edge of panic, its parents nowhere to be seen. From the night comes the griffin and the sphinx, brother and sister, creatures in transition, morphing twixt here and there. Grasping the child's hands, they swing it high, sending it in a playful arc across the divide. When it lands on the other side, they are there to steady it. That a metamorph is neither and both at once, yet it may be trusted, for she was a changeling able to cross boundaries that to others might seem insurmountable. You are a mutable sign, Virgo. You're an earth sign whose guide is Mercury, god of speed, who goes everywhere. Mercury can come and go to the underworld. Then the Mobius. Mortality rides a pale cloud, stretching out its bony arms to side pathways for the young. But death cannot touch the Mobius, a fire drake set within the season's cycle, a creature immune to the grinding wheels of time. The Mobius perpetually renews itself, feeding off its own momentum. So death in disgust leaves the sky above the travelers, knowing that for the time being, as long as the Mobius is their protector, he has no sway over them. So security lies in your own ability, in that which is within you, in your ability to change, to shift, to be flexible, to move through cycles, to release resistance. The wolf's tale. The forest's looping paths offer no clear points of reference. The disoriented human goes around in circle, Actually, I started that, and I'm now going to stop and go back and read a tiny bit of the wolf description. The wolf will not allow you to be neutered or let you become estranged from your animal nature. By acknowledging him, you are not giving up on your humanity. You are accepting your core's origin. The wolf gives you back your instincts and helps you resist the constraints placed upon you by polite society. Start again with the tail. The forest's looping paths offer no clear points of reference. The disoriented human goes around in circles in uncertainty. The wolf watches. Before long, the befuddled man halts, head in hands, wondering what possessed him to take such a shortcut. When he looks up, the wolf is standing in front of him. As a child, he'd been petrified of fictional wolves. Now, faced with a large real one, he knows he is about to die. But he's wrong. As he has been about most things, because the wolf, spreading its jaws, gently takes his sleeve and guides him to the forest's edge. True nature, wildness, instinct, intuition. I'm also going to read a little bit of this card before the tail. The moon cat's driven by curiosity and intuition. If you align yourself to her, you will learn to grow your innate perception. Invite her into your company, and if the mood takes her, she will show you alternate byways. Follow her padded footsteps and mimic her dancing amber eyes to understand what it is to be free. Her ways are enigmatic and unpredictable, yet far from irrational. Pisces energy from across the way. The moon cat's tail. Sauntering down the promenade, the cat came to the deserted lighthouse. He'd been trying to get into the tower for days, and this evening he finally discovered a broken window. Mounting the corkscrew steps to the lantern room, he leapt onto the empty dais to survey the horizon. Night arrived and he was still there, his mossy eyes grown large from staring into the inky blackness. Far out on the moonless sea, a small boat bobbed, its oarsmen desperately trying to make out the shoreline. And then he saw them, two blinking pinpoints of green light beckoning him to safety. You are enough. All that you have done and been and experienced up until this point. That has been the preparation. That has been the discernment. Formal advice. 9 of blues, 9 of cups. Allow it all to come in, Virgo. Page of Axes below that. The new inspiration. Allow the new inspiration. Fool on the underside. Then we have the Soul card. This is an extra card in this deck. So if you've been sitting here in this 4 of blues, 4 of cups space, it may be apathy, it may be the freeze, like the man in the forest. The song of your soul is calling you to the star. To your star. Yours, discerned by you, chosen by you. Your path of dedication and devotion. And then the Eight of Wands. Let it come. Let it come. It's coming. Let it come. You are ready. You're ready because you are you. Virgo. I wish you all the very, very best, Virgo. I hope this is encouraging for you. I hope you're feeling it. Be well, and I will see you next time. So long, Virgo.